And we have breaking news right now. Israel and Iran exchanging more strikes overnight as the conflict stretches into an 8th day. It was 1 week ago today where this all started. Another Iranian missile hitting southern Israel this morning, hitting an apartment and an industrial complex, causing extensive damage and fire on the ground. No injuries were reported. President Trump setting a 2-week deadline now for his decision on whether the U.S. will take military action against Iran. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt reading a message directly from the president yesterday. Watch.
Regarding the ongoing situation in Iran, I know there has been a lot of speculation amongst all of you in the media regarding the president's decision-making and whether or not the United States will be directly involved. In light of that news, I have a message directly from the president. And I quote, "Based on the fact that there's a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place with Iran in the near future, I will make my decision whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks."
And is he seeing any signs of progress? He obviously is holding out hope for negotiations, but is he seeing any inklings of progress that give him that hope that talks are still possible?
Well, that's why he said in the statement that I just read for all of you, based on the fact that there's a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place with Iran in the near future, he will make that decision within the next 2 weeks.
Joining me now is the Heritage Foundation Vice President of National Security. She is former Trump Deputy National Security Advisor, Victoria Coates. Victoria, good to see you. Your reaction to the president's statement there?
Well, good morning, Maria. I think this is entirely consistent with what President Trump has done over the last 6 months, which is give diplomacy every chance, but put timelines on it. And if the timelines aren't met, force may be required. A show of strength may be required to get to that peaceful resolution. So that's what we saw with his letter. That's what we see here. If there is the possibility of even the Iranians coming to the White House, as he teased a little bit yesterday as well, that's possible. Sure, give it a chance. But this isn't going to go on forever. So two-week deadline. They either start to come to the table in more of a mood to make concessions than they were before, or he's going to make a decision and they may not like it.
Well, it's a good point to make because the president on April 12th gave the Iranians 60 days to make a deal, and it was on day 61 that Israel went into Iran. So yesterday was the 19th. You're talking about July 3rd, July 4th, which is this 2-week deadline. What are your thoughts on where the Ayatollah Khomeini is right now? The president said he knows where he's hiding, but he won't take him out as yet.
I think he has to be utterly demoralized. I mean, what's been revealed over the last 8 days in terms of Iran's weakness is really dramatic, almost shocking that they could be this exposed, this unable to do anything, and Israel able to pretty much do what they want, fly with impunity. Sure, they fired off that rocket last night that did land. It did cause a fire. That is bad. It's horrible when any innocent Israelis die. But at the same time, Israel ran 50 sorties across Iran, all across the country, hitting a number of different strategic targets, degrading their abilities to respond still further. So the Ayatollah has to be, completely demoralized. He's apparently hiding in a bunker. That rarely ends well. And he's lost most of his senior staff, particularly in the military arena. So how they respond effectively is increasingly difficult to see here.
Yeah, and we should point out that Iran keeps trying to hit at civilians in Israel, whether it be the hospital the other day or the apartment complex last night. Well, Israel is focused squarely on the nuclear capabilities. President Trump is going to be headed to the NATO summit next week, beginning on Tuesday in the Netherlands, Victoria. He will be able to confer with our NATO allies, and there the priorities have been to try to get our NATO partners to increase their spending on defense up to 5% of their GDP. A handful of them are there, like Poland. What are you expecting in terms of the NATO agenda and what the president hears from our allies in Europe, among other places?
This is really going to be a critical moment for the alliance, Maria. The president has made a signature issue out of NATO spending, as he should. It is really disgraceful that, except for the United States, the top 10 economies in NATO are clinging with their fingernails to 2%, if that. And we need them at 3.5 to do anything effectively as an alliance. So there was a lot of tough talk out of a number of EU countries after the president's confrontation with President Zelensky in the Oval Office of, oh, they were going to find $1 trillion. Oh, they were all going to be the leaders of the free world. Okay, great. Let's see some cash on the barrelhead in The Hague. I don't want pledges. We've had pledges for 11 years. I don't want projections. I don't want civilian capabilities. I want cash on the barrelhead being spent on their defenses immediately. Now they've had an additional 6 months to think about it, but that's got to be it. And we hosted the Secretary General, Mark Rutte, at Heritage last month, and we made that point to him. And I think the president has as well. And I think that's what we need to see.
Sure. Victoria, real quick before you go, Israel said that it can take out the underground Fordow nuclear site in Iran on its own. It doesn't necessarily need the United States. I know we've been talking about these bunker buster bombs that the U.S. can help with. What do you think? Can Israel take that out alone? And is there danger and risk around hitting that nuclear site underground?
Well, there is always a risk with this, especially this one, 30 stories underground. And at this point, I'd tend to trust Israel about their capabilities. And, they've said in the last 24 hours, they're not going to pressure the United States to get involved. They can probably do this alone. That would probably be ideal from our perspective, but also ideal not to miss this opportunity. If this is the chance to end this program, we have to think very seriously about that.
Sure. Victoria, good to talk with you as always. Thank you. Victoria Coates this morning.